Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Gufic Biosciences Limited Q3FY21-22 Earnings Conference Call. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone telephone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Ms. Amisha, Company Secretary. Thank you, and over to you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. I am Amisha, Company Secretary of Gufic Biosciences Limited. I welcome you all to Q3 FY2021-2022 Earnings Conference Call. I have with me Mr. Pranav Choksi, Chief Executive Officer and Whole-Time Director, Mr. Devkinandan Roonghta, Chief Financial Officer, and Mr. Avik Das, from Investor Relations team, to give the highlights of the business performance of the company and to clarify the queries of the investors during the call. After the opening remarks from the management, operator will open the bridge for Q&A session. But before we proceed with the call, please note some of the statements made in today's discussion may be forward-looking and are based on management current expectation, and this may be viewed in conjunction with risk and uncertainties involved in our business. The company assumes no responsibility to publish or update or amend, modify, revise any forward-looking statement based on any subsequent development, new information or futures, or except as required by the applicable laws in force. This call is being recorded and the playback shall be made available on our website shortly after the call. The transcript of this call will be submitted to the stock exchanges and made available on our website. I'll now hand over the call to Mr. Avik for his opening remarks. Thank you all. Over to you, Avik.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our earnings call for the third quarter. We thank each and every one of you all for attending the call. It means a lot to us. As you all know, third quarter was a litmus test of our unique end-to-end business model, which is diversified across domestic branded business, exports, CMO and APIs. And we take pleasure in informing you that Gufic has emerged as the third fastest growing company among the top 100 pharma companies in India. It was a critical quarter for us as the portfolio mix transitioned back to our normal strategy, which is spread across 4 exciting business lines and 15 well-chosen therapeutic segments. A point to highlight here is that the growth in the core non-COVID portfolio was contributed by not just a product or a division or a therapeutic segment or a business unit. Rather, there was an all-rounded granular growth across molecules in our well-diversified portfolio, whether it was our anti-infective, infertility, or the aesthetic dermatology division. We experienced growth across the board within our core non-COVID portfolio. This, of course, is a testimony to the hard work of our various business heads, each of whom devised an excellent tailored product-level strategy to navigate and capitalize on the transition to normal trend. And as always, we continue to focus on R&D with an aim to combine the unique art and science of lyophilization to new drug delivery systems and provide the patients with affordable and advanced medications. With that, I'll quickly take you all through the updates in each of the business lines. And of course, later our CEO will give you further light on what are the exciting new things that we're doing in each of these business divisions. So to begin with, our domestic branded business registered a strong performance led primarily by our non-COVID products. The non-COVID portfolio of critical care group has shown very strong growth. This was fueled by our penem portfolio, which has the entire range, right from doripenem, ertapenem, meropenem, imipenem, and also the entire antifungal portfolio where we cover all the fungins. We saw great, very, very high double-digit growths in these 2 portfolios. Something very exciting, something that we've been looking forward to. Our core infertility portfolio has nearly doubled now. We've seen healthy growth in this portfolio when compared to even the pre-pandemic levels. And this happened because we had certain product level, market level strategies, and there were some new products also which were launched in this division. Within the herbal products, we launched a range of multivitamins which has led to high growth in this segment. Our Spark division, of course, has also seen great growth, and There we intend to launch a cardiac diabetic management range, maybe somewhere in Q2 of FY23. Stellar is a very young division and it's growing with leaps and bounces, and we are still continuing to see good traction. And to further augment the sales in this division, we plan to launch at least 6 to 8 new products in the coming 6 months. Our go-to-market strategy for all those products are very well mapped out. And Asterderm, which is one of our exciting babies, in which we house our brand Stanox, continues to grow very strongly. The acceptance in the market is phenomenal, and we are very, very sure, and with every passing day, we are getting more and more confident that this will become one of our pillar brands going forward. Now I'll give you all a quick overview of what happened in our CMO business. The company achieved strong and sustainable volume growth across multiple therapeutic segments. So our non-COVID portfolio has grown as we were able to complete some of our backlog orders, and we've seen high double-digit growth within this business segment as well. And in this segment, we are very fortunate to have some of India's leading pharma companies and global MNCs as our esteemed clients, and many of whom have awarded us with new projects in the past quarter. So this, of course, is a testimony to our continued effort to excel in R&D and be at the cutting edge of quality. And the other new area of growth, which will become one of our big growth engines in time to come, is our export business. And we've seen huge volume growth in this business, and we have commenced exports to regulated markets for molecules such as vancomycin, clarithromycin, teicoplanin, and tigecycline. We have received marketing authorizations for omeprazole from markets like Myanmar, azithromycin from Kenya, daptomycin from Colombia, and our patented formulation, tigecycline injection, has received marketing authorization from Russia and Myanmar. And I think we'll be able to go to many new markets with this patented formulation. And something that exciting that has happened in the last quarter is we have broken into Brazil market, which of course is one of the most difficult markets to break into in terms of regulatory entry barriers. We've also gotten into Canada, Nigeria, and Colombia with more and more products. So now we are no longer one product in one market, but we are becoming a multi-product in multi-market in the regulated market business itself. And I think with this, and our executive director will further give you all lights on what our plans are on this side. And we've seen growth even in the API business through our existing portfolio of antifungals and anesthetic products. And as we had informed in our earlier calls, that our API, we have a dedicated R&D facility for API, and now we are coming up with an entire range which will be in antifungals, peptides, antibiotics, certain synthetic progestins, and antibacterials as well. So this is an area which you will see great growth in time to come, and it won't be on the back of one therapeutic segment, which has been our strategy even in our formulations business. So it'll be a very well spread out granular growth that we'll see here. And another update that we have on our ongoing capex is about our penem block. There's a good market opportunity for these products, and to ensure that we capitalize on this market opportunity, we've shifted the location of the penem block back to Navsari. This will significantly reduce our time to market, as we can leverage our existing infrastructure such as utilities, engineering, and testing facilities. And I think with this, even before our Indore facility go live, we should probably have our penem block ready in Navsari. So with this, I'll hand over the call to our CFO to give Mr. Rungta to give you all an update on the financials.
Thank you.
Mr. Tuksi will take over the call.
Thank you, Avi. I'm Mr. D.V. Rungta, CFO of the company. I will going to highlight the financial highlights for the quarter ended with Q3 for the financial year 2020-21 and 9 months ended on 31st December 2021. First, I will going to highlight the 9 month financial related result for the period December 21 compared with the financial related for the 9 months of December 2020. Total revenue for last 9 months was around 356 crore. This year, the total revenue is 617 crore, where is a upward of around 73% jump in the total revenue of the company. This also includes around 150 crore revenue from COVID business. Otherwise, remaining is through our existing normal growth rate. EBITDA for last financial year, 9 months EBITDA was 63 crore. This 9 months, the EBITDA has jumped from 63 to 117 crore. There is total jump of around 85%. EBITDA margin has further improved in this 9 months. Last year, the EBITDA margin was 17.8%. This year, the EBITDA margin for 9 months is around 19%. Profit before tax for last 9 months was 41 crores. This year, it was 101 crore. There is jump of around 148%. Profit PBT margin has further been improved from 11.4% to 16.3%. Profit after tax has jumped from last year 31.4 crores to 75.6 crores. There is jump of around 141%. Tax margin last 9 months it was 8.8%. This time it was to 12.2%, and there is also jump of around 50%. If I compare the Q3 of current financial year versus last financial year, the turnover for current financial year is around 122 crore, but actual turnover for this financial year was around 182 crore. This is because of the sales return of 10 crore related to COVID product which was sold in the Q1 of the financial year 21-22. EBITDA last quarter EBITDA last year Q3 quarter the EBITDA was 27.5 crore. This time it was 34.2 crore. There is jump of 25%. EBITDA margin last year was around 16.5%. This year it was 19.9%. Profit before tax last Q3 was 20.5 crores. This Q3 is 28.7 crores. There is a 40% jump. PBT margin last Q3 was 12.3%. This Q3 is around 16.7%. Profit after tax last year was 15.5%. This year was 21%. There is jump of 36%. PAT margin last Q3 was 9.3%. This year 12.3%. And so this was the financial results for the quarter and 9 months ended. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Roonghta sir. Hi, Pranav here. So before I go ahead,
our MD, Mr. Pranav Choudhary.
Thank you, sir. So before I start, I'll just check my mic because I'm trying a new mic today. So I hope I'm audible and everything is fine. Can someone just acknowledge that, and then I'll go ahead.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
All right, thank you. So I think perfectly said by Avik and Roonghta sir about the different salient features of your company. I just want to elaborate on certain key points, and I will also first talk about in general, and then I'll take it for the SBU or the strategic business unit wise. So as Avik said, if everyone has been following the investor calls since the last, since June and then in September also, we have already mentioned there was a 25% traction of COVID-related revenue in the first quarter and around 5% revenue traction due to black fungus and I would say residual COVID, but more related to black fungus in the Q2. This is the first quarter where we have seen almost not only zero involvement, I would say negative involvement of COVID product as related to the returns which we had to take because of non-movement in the market of certain COVID drugs. Otherwise, this is the first quarter where we have seen a complete organic business being represented in its most efficient manner. So just to add to points, I would say division-wise, the domestic business as mentioned by Avik has seen that growth going on. Of course, infertility division led the growth percentage this time because as and when the normal overall life was coming back to normal, we saw a lot of pregnancies, a lot of IVF procedures which were kept on hold had come back to normal. Also, with the launch of certain PFS in terms of enoxaparin as well as certain new launches in terms of hormonal gels, and also an improvement in our offering of our HMG portfolio, where we have come with not only more drug delivery systems, but also come up with an improved product where we have seen a lot, I would see a very accelerated growth in the infertility segment. Coming to critical care continues to be the number one division of Gufic. And I feel even without having any new launches in October to December, because we had a big inventory of products which always were lying with us. And apart from the, I would say, the COVID drugs, the non-COVID drugs came back to normal, and we saw a good traction there. A lot of planned surgeries and a lot of other, I would say, existing, I would say, procedures, similarly like in the critical care space, got activated once again. In the critical care space, we have just launched in the month of February the Zarbot, which is the botulinum toxin version, which is mainly focused on neurological conditions. So as we have Stanox, which is dedicated to the Aesthodome division for only, cosmetic purposes. Now Zarbot will be another, I would say, feather in our cap, which will drive the business forward. Zarbot will of course have a higher traction, reason being that, the Aesthodome division is being promoted by 33 people, and now we're going to expand there. But here with Zarbot being the number one division, which we have a critical care, we will have almost 200 people, focusing on this and creating an equity with the, with the neurological, I would say, community. And more importantly, we have, I would say, a lot of feedback in terms of use, in terms of trials, in terms of, applications, which we feel that we will be giving not only the competition, but also giving a big boost to the market also. So coming to Zarbot should be another launch. Also, we'll be gearing up for our expansion in capacities also going forward in Navsari, which I had mentioned earlier also. So Indore will still take time. Indore should be ready by, March 2023 or a little bit before that, because right now we are on schedule. But before I talk on CAPEX, let me focus on the impact on the critical care division. So we foresee that apart from the normal products, we are coming out with a new a new basket, a new pipeline of certain critical care products which are mostly targeted for primary healthcare, and a separate division separately dedicated for microcare. So they'll be offshoots of the critical care division, where there'll be 2 to 3 products launched in the month of February and 2 more in the month of March. And around a new drug delivery system coming in April, which should further fuel the growth and keep the consistent numbers going on. As Rumta sir rightly mentioned, the main challenge and the main objective we have to do, which we have to focus on, that this year almost saw 150 crore increase in revenue purely due to COVID. But we know for a fact that this 150 crore also came at the cost of certain other division business, which of course will come back to normal. But at the same time, we also have some, I would say, not some, we have in every division around 2 to 3, I would say, traction points, which will help us to not only recover this COVID business, but also to ensure a growth in the future years to come. Coming to the herbal products, as we mentioned, healthcare, I would say, more than herbal, because now we are coming with a lot of nutraceuticals. We are coming up with a specific, liposomal combination with nutraceuticals in which can be used on day-to-day basis. Plus, we are coming up with certain unique single doses products for kids, because sometimes when we see nutrition of kids are very important for us, and sometimes the kids forget. I mean, since the schools are starting once again, sometimes if they forget to take the syrup in the morning or a soft gel in the morning, they have to wait for the entire day. So we are coming up with now small handy packs of certain products which will be launched by Q2 or Q3 2023, which will be unique to multivitamins, to iron, and to basically overall nutrition, which can be packed in the form of their tiffin box or in the form of a snack box, which can be carried by them, and very tasty and very cosmetic and elegant looking products, which can be taken in the form of a jelly or in the form of a liquid shot or in the form of a suspension, which help them to take care of their daily requirements. So these are just some of the products which we're looking at, either for oral use. We're also working on certain topical, I would say, massage oils for infants, where they get the nutrition via the topical route, via massage. So these are just small, I would say, incremental innovations which we are trying to do, which help the patient's compliance, which helps the overall, administration of drug also much more consistent and much more unique and much more, I would say, organized. So similar in Spark, we are, like Avik rightly mentioned, apart from the antibiotics Gufidox, which we launched, which right now in the last 2 months got traction because of the upper respiratory infections, along with which was a side byproduct of this third wave of COVID. We could manage. I think the only product which we could actually have some dent was the Gufidox, because that's the only product which was prescribed in COVID in terms of this clear. Most of the product, and thanks to God and thanks to the science now, a lot of people were not admitted to the hospitals, and because of that, not much traction was there. and a lot of people recovered just by taking the normal routine standard of care or basic antibiotics or basic, I would say, vitamin C and, I would say normal nutrition, and they were fine. So Spark, with the reason why we are launching this cardiac diabetic angle as a part of the Spark division is we have seen that because of COVID, a lot of increase in sugar levels and diabetic is being seen on a much more broader basis, and we foresee that we have some unique offerings which will be coming in the next year, which will be the anchor products for us, which will offer us some differentiators, and that along with the common basket of anti-diabetics and cardios, which will be an important, I would say, booster tool for us going forward. So right now, maybe in adult population, the diabetes penetration is 10%, but there are certain data which is available in the market as per experts, where we can see this 10% going to almost 16 to 20% in the next few years because of the impact of COVID, and that is the increase in diabetics market overall in the country. Coming to Stellar, we of course got a good traction because of certain pre-filled syringe and certain products. But what we realized also that in pain management and gynac we have a good portfolio, but in terms of the ortho segments we lack certain, I would say, allopathic options which can be unique in nature, which can help us drive the Stellar business. So those became out of the brainstorming which we did in the month of December, and we hope by the month we already have launched one molecule which is an extension of Sallaki known as Sallaki Max, which is a good option for the orthopedicians for this quarter. And in the next quarter, we are hoping to launch 3 more products, which will be helping us to take care of, to ensure that the gap in the treatment basket, what we offer to the orthopedicians, is taken care of, and we can get a better share of the prescription in the coming months to come, in the coming years to come also. Aesthederm is anyway, I would say, Stanox month by month has been on the rise. And now, along with, I would say that not only the acceptance, but more importantly, the recognition which is getting in the market is quite encouraging. And hence, because of this 9-month data what we have of Stanox in the market, made us very encouraged to launch the Zarbot also, that is in the critical care space in neurological issues. We said we should also launch it fast because the doctor acceptance is overwhelming. At the same time, what we realized where we were lacking is, in terms of marketing and in terms of the noise level, we have to improve. So we have recruited certain experts who have a prior history in handling toxins and fillers. And we hope that with them and with also some international faces who will be joining us as the advisory board for us in India, we will be having a much more amplified launch. I would not say launch, but a much more amplified, noise level in the field of Aesthederm with our Stanox range. And this very soon we should be applying for the topical option also for Stanox, which should be ready for filing by April, followed by the Type E, which will be filing in the month of July. So that is in case of the domestic market. As I mentioned, for the CMO business, there is a lot to an R&D than what we can market. So when, as Avik was saying, that when we talk to a particular client of ours, and we are offering them maybe 4 out of 6 or 4 out of 8 options in a particular therapeutic, I would say treatment regimen, they ask us to develop the other 2, not only for the Indian market, but also to take to our international market. So like that, in the last 3 months, we have signed almost 3 minimum agreements. There are 2 under discussion, but 3 agreements have been signed, where we will be sort of a contract research and development and manufacturing partner for 2 big multinationals, and also for 2 companies based in Europe, where we will be taking care of their gap in their therapeutic regimen, and we will be the partner ensuring that they get the entire channel taken care of. This is also in a reason, I would say, helpful. Why? Because of the backward integration of the API, which we already invested in the last 3 years. We become a good, API. So we start with the research in API, then we start with the research in formulation. We can offer the entire basket from scratch in the areas of our strength. I'm not saying everything, but in the areas of our strength, and hence it makes us a good, partner as a contract CDMO in the years to come. This is going to be complemented by the expansion capacity in Navsari, which is going to be ready by March 2022, where we will be increasing the capacity by 400,000 vials for lyophilized, and we'll be increasing the liquid capacity by around close to maybe a million vials. So now the total lyophilized capacity in Navsari would come to around close to 4.4 million vials per month. And this will be complemented by an additional capacity at Indore, which will be ready by end of next year, which will be another 5 million. So we are looking at a 9.4 million vials capacity per month, which I think should make us, like I said, I had mentioned earlier, the largest manufacturer in the world. So apart from having an economic of scale, and like I said, in Indore, it will just not be the lyophilized products. It also would be suspensions. Sorry, excuse me. It would be suspensions. It would be pre-filled syringes. It would be dual chamber bags. It will be dual chamber syringes, and it would also be ampules. So the entire spectrum of an injections, whatever form, whatever way it's possible, will be made there, and that will make us, a single window, I would say, manufacturer, supplier, and marketer of high-end injectables and also, generic injectables also. Apart from this, the decision for us to shift Penem from Indore back to Navsari was that we had an existing, I would say, infrastructure which could be converted and made into a Penem block much earlier rather than putting up a bigger investment in Indore. So we took the option by which we, preponed the commercial launch of Penems to June 2022 instead of July 2023. So this just helps us to penetrate the market much faster. And because of this, and it was a great, I think, job done by my CEO and his team. And in I think the way we have expanded, I think we should be ready by May. But however, I give the commitment that by June 2022, we should be ready with this block. And so we can see revenues coming from Q2 2023. Coming to exports, already I think Avik has mentioned in the specific approvals which we have got. But keeping in mind our focus on multiple countries and multiple products, the pipeline continues to grow. There has been some challenges last year. Reason being that most of our capacity till around July was occupied with I would say COVID and these black fungus and mucormycosis drugs. So after that, we had a very big backlog of our export products, and we had some backlog of a domestic market also, which we got into. And then from January itself, we have started now taking care of new batches, new launches for. These are the new pipeline which we want to file in the international markets in the years to come. We have started the validation batches from them from January, and we foresee that again by maybe September, October 2022, we should have new dossiers lined up so that the pipeline should always be I would say kind of full, and there should be no lull period, and we should keep on getting this churning months on months. Coming to our R&D development, which is I think the backbone of us. I would start with the F&D department, the formulation department first, and then I'll come to the API one. The formulation R&D in Navsari has already, apart from the botulinum toxin projects and apart from the normal generics they are working on, they have started now working on certain biological peptides and certain, I would say, specific niche products in regard to liposomal options and nanoparticles. This will be complemented by the Indore R&D, which is starting in the month of February. As I mentioned before, our foray into vaccines should start very soon. And that is where the Indore R&D should start not only this, but also start the various new drug delivery systems also of biologicals there. So since the projects were increasing day by day, and of course with the growth which we have seen and the cash flows which we are getting, a big chunk of our money is being invested back into R&D and infrastructure. So maybe certain milestones which we have planned 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the line can be preponed to a earlier year. The last point, which is the most important point, is about the bulk drug, the API business, because going forward, we have seen a lot of interest in terms of de-risking from countries beyond us, and that is where the API R&D business has seen traction in terms of the number of portfolios. So earlier we had decided to have a team of around 25-30 people, but we now feel the space is there to increase it to maybe 50 people, specifically dedicated to API R&D. I'm talking about the scientist and the chemist. And we feel that in different therapies, apart from cardiac, anti-infective, antifungals, anesthetic, which is already our foray, we will expand to diabetes and we will be expanding to peptides. So whatever we offer in the front end, we should be, at least, like I said, 60% of those portfolios, 60% of the products which can be game changers down the line should be backward integrated all the way to API basis. Where we also try that even the intermediate and the basic scratch should be de-risked from the countries beyond that. So this is a nutshell of, I would say, overall whatever efforts the company is getting into and we are getting to. I think that's enough from my side. If I have missed any points, please feel free to ask me any question, and I'll be more than happy to answer those. So I'll hand over the, I would say, the session back to the, to the compere, I think, and you can take it forward.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Thank you. The first question is from the line of Rajat from iThought. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. So just wanted to understand one thing. What really is the differentiation of our company? Is it lyophilization, or is it new drug delivery system, or is it new drug delivery system within the lyophilization, or something else?
So hi Rajat, how are you? So first of all, if you asked me in 2008, 2010, what was the differentiation, I would have said definitely lyophilization. But lyophilization is more of a commodity now. It's not that lyophilization is now not accessible by everyone. So still in lyophilization, the economic of scale and the pipeline is of course still our USP, where we offer a lot of products for the first time in India, and we also offer some new drug delivery systems which might be sometimes first time in the world, but also we have patents by which if certain lyophilized products have patent, we always come up with our own unique process, and that's how we bypass them and we launch it at a much economical rate. Going forward, the company has evolved, keeping in mind the basic fundamentals of innovation in mind. So new drug delivery system in injections is of course sometimes or maybe not related to lyophilization. However, we always come up with options in new drug delivery system where we can make the patient compliance much more easier. So as I mentioned before, sometimes it's about patient compliance, but sometimes in the injection industry or the ICU industry, it's all about administrator compliance also. So you see the new launches which will come up in the next 3 to 6 months, they will be specifically related to administrator compliance, where you don't have to go through much mixing, matching, and by which there can be chances of cross-contamination, and there might be chances of inaccurate dosing, and hence we moved on to specific devices and used our own intellect, or I would say our innovative capability in terms of stabilizing those products apart from lyophilization in those drug delivery systems, which we use some new, I would say, procedure. Going forward, as a differentiator, one more reason is that there are certain. I am a MSc in biotechnology, and when I joined Gufic, we always into pharma, and we continue to be. We will always try to be a force in pharma, but biological is something which we are very passionate about because that is where the core competency of the management lies in also. So with my mentor, Dr. Balram Singh, who has helped us in the first product being Stanox and followed by Zarbot and many more, we also have a separate pipeline, which is the next strength of Gufic in the field of recombinant proteins, in the field of biological vaccines, also in the field of maybe some immuno-oncotherapy, which will be seen in the next few years. So everything is related to life-saving and niche products where we get into. Can it be lyophilization, new delivery systems, biological peptides, and lastly, complemented with our backward integration in terms of API. So that is where I feel our company is a little bit more different. So we might not be great in generics, in tablet capsule for certain products, but these are the fields which we more normally try to focus on. I think I've answered your question.
Pretty much. Thank you so much for this detailed answer. The other question I had was around if you can give some examples where you have been able to launch some products under the new drug delivery system, so as to be able to understand this aspect better.
Sure.
Some live examples and what kind of revenues, let's say, those products launched under NDDS, what kind of revenue contribution is coming from such products as of today?
I'll definitely give you examples of new drug delivery systems, but revenue is something which I might be refrained from answering that, because not that I don't want to share it with you. I may be wrong in those numbers, so you can send an email to us and we can let you know. I'll give you an example first of all about certain antibiotics which are in the form of a separate vial. You have a diluent and you have to mix it. Then we come in the form of a dual chamber bag and we make it more administratively compliant. We also give you so let's say an example of Immunocin Alpha. We have launched it in the form of a lyophilized vial earlier, which is as per the innovator in the United States. But we are the first company to come up with, I would say, a pre-filled syringe. So you can imagine it's an intramuscular product, which you don't want someone to go to the trouble of taking a big needle, putting 1 ml water into a lyophilized vial, then again removing 1 ml water in the form of an insulin needle and then putting it in the stomach. So that entire process is too tedious, and it can lead to when you're playing with 1 ml, there can be chances of inaccurate dosing, or it can be chances of spillage, or I would say contamination also. So that is where we have come up with pre-filled syringe option for Immunocin Alpha also. The same example goes for human menopausal gonadotropin. This is a product which is used in infertility, in IVF treatments. There we have come up with, again, it is a lyophilized product which is stable for 24 months or 36 months. We have come up with ready-to-use pre-filled syringes. We have come up with ready-to-use liquids, where the doctor has a feasibility. So sometimes the doctor feels, lyophilized kitna mein use karo, I have to take multiple vials and all that. So what we have come up with, so the normal strength which used to give in a vial earlier was 150 IU. We have now come with multi-dose vials of around 1200 IU, and it's ready to use liquid without any dilution, without anything. The doctor can just take 1 ml and put it in the patient's body, and they are done with. They don't have to go through the entire process of reconstitution and contamination and all that. And if they want something even superior to that, we have an option of pre-filled syringe. So we have a liquid stable. So from lyophilization, we have now moved to ready-to-use liquid, where they can have shot of 150 or 225 or 300 IU ready. They can just put it in the form of I would say syringes going forward. In the future, what we are coming up with, there might be certain powders and certain liquids which you need to mix, and then you have to give it intramuscularly. So we have options of a single pre-filled syringe where you have a powder in the front and you have a liquid behind. You just press the liquid onto the powder, it gets mixed and directly goes in the patient's body, where that 100% of that molecule is going into the patient's body. This is very important in cases where certain products are only 40 milligram, which is hardly, to measure 40 milligram or to measure maybe 0.5 ml or 0.6 ml is very difficult. And when you have such a device, it ensures that the patient gets a complete, I would say the right dose at the right time, and it lasts for the right time. Because these injections are supposed to be lasting for 28 days in the patient's body. These are all depot injections. So we ensure that the patient will get that 28-day full treatment. Of course, I can go on and on and on. I can go on to, topical botulinum toxin. I can go to, penems in the bags and all that, but I think it'll be long. But I hope you get an essence of what I'm getting into. Yeah.
Yes, pretty much. Thank you so much. The other question I had was around...
Rajat, can we please request you to please rejoin the queue for follow-up? We have other participants waiting in the queue.
All right. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would request you to please limit your questions up to 2. Should you have a follow-up question, we request you to please rejoin the queue. We move to the next question from the line of Umang Shah from Sarat Capital AIF. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. So the diabetes and cardiac foray, would it be oral medications or lyophilized medication?
Primarily, I think they are lyophilized, very frank. Primarily they are oral, Primarily they are oral. But we are working on certain peptides which might be, of course, of injectable in nature. Maybe lyophilized, maybe pre-filled syringe, maybe liquid, depending on their development cycle. And because, as there are type 1 and type 2. So when I talk about the diabetic portfolio, there might be a combination of starting with oral and eventually moving on to certain injections also. Coming to cardiac, mostly we already have a very strong cardiac portfolio in terms of contract manufacturing, in terms of injections, but we do not market those. So our idea is that we will come up with a special task force for cardiac oral first, and then that be complemented by the pipeline of cardiac injection which we already have in our portfolio. But we do not market them. We only offer them as a contract manufacturer.
Right, sir. This is very helpful. Sir, and the second question is that in your critical care segment and fertility segment, there is a lot of competition in terms of number of players, and most of them tend to be MNCs like Merck and Sanofi. So just wanted to understand, like, we get better sales because of lower cost of our drugs or better marketing, or if you could shed some light on it?
Sir, I think the first thing is, the drug has to be affordable to the patient. That really helps, definitely. But for us, if we are not, the price is not the market price is not the determination factor. So when we go to the head of any big hospital, or when we go and meet the doctors who are the decision makers on which brand to be used in each patient, they first talk about quality. They first talk about that whether this company can offer me the entire basket. They also say that if tomorrow, if something is compatible with some particular new drug delivery system, can that company offer that? And then, of course, it has to be affordable by the patient. So, again, I'll not name names, but in certain cases, price works. I'll tell you how. When certain MRP of the products are maybe 15,000, 18,000, and the doctor refrains from using that product because it's not, the patient cannot afford them. And then, Gufic comes and tells us, sir, why don't you use that same molecule, that same product? I'm giving you at 4,000 rupees. Now at least you can upgrade that patient to that therapy, which he or she would not have afforded just because it was out of his budget and the insurance would not cover it. So definitely in those cases we help. So that's how the critical care has got traction, because we have brought very, I would say, internationally quality products, and the same product we sell in Germany, that same product is also sold to a patient in India, where in certain cases we have brought the price by almost 1/4 down and still making money. It's not that we do it for charity, still we make money out of it. The only reason is because of the economic of scale, the the pipeline, and also the backward integration, where we have the API help also. So these are a lot of factors which help us to, I would say, create a mark in the market, create a dent in the market, and, maybe defeat our competitors.
Right, sir. This is very helpful, sir. Thank you so much. I'll get back in the queue.
Yeah.
The next question is from the line of Ayush Agarwal from Mithil Investments. Please go ahead.
Hi, Pranav. Thank you for the opportunity and much appreciate the detailed opening remark. I have my first question, which is that, now that the domestic branded business is around 300 crore plus, which is a stable business now. So what will ensure, 20% growth for the next few years in a domestic branded business? And the follow-up to this is that, what could be the addressable market for our critical care and fertility care, where we are already very big?
So Ayush, thank you very much. So the moment, when the company clocked 250 crores in Q1 and in Q2, whatever we did that's the first question which came to my mind, which, my CFO asked me, how will you sustain this? It's not that, and we all hope and we all pray that COVID should go away and we should get back to a normal life. So that is where, like I said, options like new drug delivery systems, options like the dual chamber bags, option of Zarbot coming in critical care, options of isovoconazole, which is now, I'm hoping in the next 2-3 months I should get the PCI permission, options of dalbavancin, where we should be finishing a clinical trial by coming year and we should launch it by maybe Jan to March 2023. Options like many more molecules I cannot name, which is in the pipeline and which we are working on and we are filing to DCGI, should sustain the growth in critical care. In infertility, we have a new modified form of HMG coming in, because the total market of HMG, we right now only have around 6 to 7% market share. We are targeting in the next year we should have at least 20% market share in HMG because of the offering which is going to come up. And like that, it's going to be complemented by 3-4 other hormone, either NDDS or even new molecules which will take us through. I already mentioned that, in healthcare, with those unique, I would say, convenience in terms of products which will come for the pediatric use, followed by a strong launch in certain immunomodulators, and of course, vitamins should drive that growth. In Spark, cardiac diabetes, again, cardiac diabetes is something which we have to play with patients, because it's not something which can happen overnight. But it is something which we want to, really capitalize on, because we know that we have certain offerings there also, which are a little bit revolutionary, which you might see it in the next 3 years. But for me to be launching something in 3 years, I need to have some anchor right now. So my next 3 years, I would say, mehnat in terms of creating a market and at least getting known. Because right now, no big cardiologist or diabetologist knows Gufic, and maybe nothing for them. That is where in the next 3 years I need to have to create some sort of a equation saying that we are a standard company, and that's why the new launch which we come up with will have relevance, and we'll have that distribution channel and that entire market channel set up. So we are ready to capitalize on that revolutionary product. So these are just some examples, like I said, follow in Acidum skincare, followed by hair care, and in Stellar, like I mentioned, we already saw a gap in the therapy basket, and we are going to add it up with certain products. So that it's an ongoing process, and it'll keep on, because there's also an instance that we work on 10 things, we fail at 5 things. Something you think will click might not click. Something which you feel will not click will click. So that trial and error continues. But that is where the R&D backup and the think tank what we have as a team, I'm very lucky and blessed to have them. And at least now we are not ideas. My thought process will get I will get worried if we run out of ideas in the years to come. So I think I'm okay till now.
That's really good to know. Just a follow-up to this is that, what is the addressable market for Gufic in facilities?
So I forgot to mention that. I'm not very good with numbers, but still according to me, the current market size what we have is close to around 4.5 to 5,000 crores, which we are currently doing. The new products which we'll be launching in the next 1-2 years always will be adding 500,000 crores XYZ to it when we open. So like Penem, we are coming with a new drug delivery system. So I'm sure it will be part of the existing thing. Plus there'll be an expansion of the market also. With Zarbot also, we foresee that apart from just taking a market share, we should increase the market in the neurological condition. Plus the certain multivitamins which are coming in a form of a dual chamber syringe, we should also help to expand the existing market, which is right now mostly just oral. Because there, if you have a better biology and a much more convenient method, then that will go through. So infertility, I think critical care is 4.5-5,000 crores, but infertility is around close to 3,000 crores and growing. Yeah.
So that's really good. My next question is that what are the other therapeutics which are large enough right now, like the next 2-3 therapeutic segments which are large enough right now, and what are we doing to grow them? Half the size of our critical care and fertility business.
Oh, you're talking in terms of our own existing basket, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So like I said, I think critical care is a very broad word now, because that's why we are divided into primary healthcare, micro care, normal anti-infective, and now we are coming with neurological division. So now in critical care also we are hiving off and creating into different specialties which can be focused in a much more attractive manner. So again, I would say neurology in critical care and urology as a complement to infertility. And Acidum, which is our cosmetic thing, is something which we feel should be going up in a much bigger way. Cardiac diabetes, again, I'm saying, is something which we hope to do because of the anchor products. And I feel that, keeping in mind the market size, what we see, we should see that also should give us a good traction. So both cardiac diabetes and, Acidum and neurology should give us a amount of chunk in the years to come.
Awesome. That's really good to know, and wish you all the best. I'll come back in the queue for follow-up questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. In order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all the participants in the queue, we request the participants to please limit their questions up to 1. We move to the next question from the line of Aman Vij from Astute Investment Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Pranay. My question is regarding the if you can talk about the capacity utilization as well as peak sales as well as our ranking in these 3 categories, which is this lyophilized injections, pre-filled syringes, and say liquid syringes.
So Amanji, first of all, I think since you're working for Astute, you're asking us a very astute question, which I think you'll have to repeat again for me to understand. So is it you asking me about my capacity and how much we are utilizing and how much we are the leader? Can you please repeat that? Maybe I missed it. My apologies, please.
Yeah. So your capacity numbers are mentioned in the presentation very nicely. I was asking about what is your utilization in these 3 parts, as well as what is the peak sales we can achieve in this, and what is our ranking? Because we have 2-3 years back numbers only, and I think Cipla is number 1 in lyophilized. I may be wrong, and we are number 2. But what is the ranking and sales as of now, if you can talk about these 3 categories?
So again, answering your second question first, that in terms of a capacity, how much revenue we can go for depending on the product mix which we have. So I will not answer that question because, we have a pantoprazole which is sold for around 60 rupees or 50 rupees or even cheaper in India, to maybe dalbavancin which will be selling for maybe close to $300 or $400 also per vial. So depending on of course, internally we have a roadmap for them. I'm not saying, I'm not denying it, but for me to share that right now would be a little bit more of a preliminary thing. I'll answer your first question. That is your capacity. So as I mentioned that currently we have a 4 million capacity. We are right now at around 60 to 65% capacity in utilization in lyophilized products in Navsari. We are just increasing this 0.4 million in Navsari as a backup till the Indore facility comes, because of we foresee that with Brazil, with Canada, with South Africa, and very soon UK coming up, we should fall short of capacity by March 2023 or maybe June 2023. So at that time we should not, because we always see that the domestic market also will increase, plus there will be a natural organic growth, plus the new geographies entering in, plus our pipelines will start kicking in. So we have now decided for the additional capacity in Indore, which should be okay. This combined capacity should be okay for us at least for the next 3 to 5 years. If not, I'll be happy, then I'll make a new factory if required. Coming to, I would say, the other facilities, I forgot to mention this before, and it's a point of relevance which you have brought about. Since a lot of our injections, we are also now planning to come up with an entire basket of oral options also. To give you one example, isovoconazole is something will be the first Indian manufacturer in India as an injection, but we also want to now start working on the oral option, because we are going to make the API in-house. So for such capacities, we are now leasing some capacities outside, where the moment we reach economic of scale, we will be making that capacity in-house in Indore in the next 2 years to come. So capacity-wise, I think I'm quite okay. And in terms of the leadership, which is the third part of the question, yes, we are in the, I would say, still number 2. I would believe if I combine all my numbers and everything, we are still number 2. Cipla is amazing, doing great job. And of course, their remdesivir and tocilizumab have also helped them really much. But yeah, we are still number 2. But in certain products, molecule-wise ranking, I might be number 1, might be number 2 or number 3, depending on those areas. In fertility, we might be we are in the top 5. But again, like I said, we might be in the different molecules might have a different ranking as such.
I'm sorry, the clarification, utilization levels in pre-filled syringes and liquid.
Oh, pre-fill, we have enough capacity. Pre-fill capacity is 3 million per month right now, and there'll be additionally 3 million coming in Indore. And right now we are using hardly 500,000 out of the 3 million per month.
Sure. I have more questions. I can get back in the queue.
Sure.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Gagan Tareja from ASK Investment Managers. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. For my first question is around the funding of your capex. If you could give me the debt required additionally for funding the capex and the total capex that you'll require for Indore and Navsari expansion.
Can I request Rumta sir to answer this question, because I think you'll be much more precise than me.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We are expecting around 240 crores capex for Indore plant. That is fixed asset. Then another around 50 crore rupees will be required, between 50 to 60 crore will be required for working capital. So there will be the total requirement is around 300 crores. And for Navsari, Panam plant and other capex, we will requiring around 20 crores. So there will be total 320 crore requirement. Out of 320 crore, we will be borrowing around 150 crore from the bank, and remaining will be from internal accruals for this year as well as from next year.
So this total capex will happen over FY22 and 23, yeah. And what would be the gross debt position as of now, and at what levels would it peak?
As of now, my current CC limit utilization is nil. Only term loan is there around 40 crores, and after capex, we feel the peak will go up to 30 plus 150, around 180 will be the peak outstanding.
Okay. Right, sir. And also, if you could help me with the OpEx that will come on board with the Indore and the Navsari facility, because these plants, whenever they get commissioned, there will be a related cost.
It is under now it's depending upon the capacity utilization, how much we will get the market in initial year, whether it will be capacity will be 30% utilization, 40% utilization. But I can say from first month onwards there will not be any cash losses. It will be break even in first 3-4 months, and then we will start the operating problem. But what will be the total expenses depending upon the top line, what we are going to generate from the Indore plant.
Okay. And also, if you could give me the split of your
this is the
sales.
operator. Mr. Tareja, may we request you to please rejoin the queue for follow-up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question is from the line of Runjhun Jain from Nirmal Bang. Please go ahead. Runjhun Jain, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, hello. Thank you. Just for a great set of numbers. Just wanted, I'm new to the company, so the questions probably very new and different from you have been hearing till now. Sir, I just wanted to understand the basic strategy of the company. You are saying that you're spreading in too many 3 or 4 other strategies, areas, therapies. You have said you're also going to export, you're also going into CMO. I'm just trying to understand the strategy here. Is it not spreading too thin? Do we have that kind of a capabilities in terms of management? What kind of a MR strength we do have in domestic market?
So, madam, I'll tell you the MR strength, but spreading thin in terms of too many segments or spreading thin in terms of revenue, can you elaborate on that? The MR strength is anyway, by the way, 850.
Okay. So what I mean here is, sir, so there are too many, without this MR strength, you have to cover so many therapies. So is it not that we are going, instead of going deeper in any selected therapy, we are going in 3 or 4 therapies where probably we don't have that kind of an expertise in particular therapies, but it is like spreading too thin. So is it a strategical move to diversify, or is it not to go, we don't have kind of an expertise to go deeper in that particular therapy?
I think if I understand it well, I'll take an example of one therapy, and then I think maybe just correct me if I understood the question right. So when I talk about a critical care therapy, where we are number 2, as I mentioned before, in the representative market totally. So there anyway, we will keep on having new product pipeline. But for, let's say, if I'm working on antifungals, which we will launch for the first time, or I'll launch certain antibiotics for the first time, I will not expect my team to go and now start selling more of generic products, which the GC contribution is less than, around 30%, 20%, 10%, just so that I can get a higher revenue. For me to sustain this, the pricing, and for me to sustain the critical care division in the way we need to do the scientific marketing, we need to always be present in new pipelines or new drug delivery systems, or maybe new therapy options in terms of new molecules, or via an alternate molecules in terms of technology. So we never decide to go thin in those, because if you see, we are a R&D and a manufacturing company where we have a lot of USPs in terms of certain segments. But if you honestly see them, it's mostly related to a very niche specialties. It's not that and I always say that I think Micro has done a wonderful job in Dolo 650, and then you have Zincovitz, and you have all those of the world. Maybe we cannot, we have not tried, and I'm sure we might not be as good as them, but we don't get into those because those, we have no USP, or we don't have any differentiation which we can offer. So in things where we have differentiation, and then, so things where we have differentiation, we try to complement with the basket, but the aim of us is to sell that differentiation. And for that, there is enough scope. So I have actually studied in United States, and I've worked in United States for some time. And there it's mostly not related to therapy, it's more related to what is your offering, what is your USP and your differentiation. There are certain companies which say, oh, this market size is 18,000 crores, this market size is 20,000 crores, why don't I go into marketing and I launch a division so I can take a 5% share, a 10% share. Our approach is, when we see a current market of 18,000 crores, what are the market drivers in that 18,000 crores? Is there something which we have which is different from those drivers? Or is there something which we have which can make that, like I gave an example of certain injection, we can play the price differentiation, we can play a molecular differentiation or a technology differentiation in terms of new delivery system or XYZ, and then we enter those markets, and then we focus on those things. And of course, since we are there, we have a basket which we complement to take that. Even the foray into Aesthaderm was because I saw botulinum toxin as a 6-7 billion market internationally and 3.5 billion market in United States, with having almost 36 crore population. With India's 1.3 billion or 130 crore or 140 crore population, I saw that the numbers of 120, 150, whatever, 180, whatever numbers you have in IMS is not enough, because there's a big penetration opportunity there, and hence we went into those, because that molecule itself can be a big game changer going forward. And now entering into maybe cardiac diabetes also, we, like I mentioned before, we will have that basket to complement us, but the main goal is to have that anchor product launch in the next 2 years or 3 years, which will be a game changer for us. So we are a company which normally try to see a gap analysis and differentiating as per our strengths and as per our weaknesses, rather than just seeing this market is big and we have to just go there and take a market share, because that sustaining that market share without innovation, without differentiation, or without any USP will be very short term, and then people use other mediums of spending to ensure that market share is sustained. But eventually there will be always someone else who will come and maybe spend more or give better margins or better discounts, and they'll just take the market share away from you. So that is where we come from, and that is what we believe in. I don't know if I answered that correctly. Is it right, or did I miss that point completely?
No, this is really helpful, sir. Actually, I was more interested in knowing more of the company. So just one request. Actually, I sent a mail to Avik, sir, if he can reply to that so we can connect offline also. So just last question, what is the growth you're looking for in medium term? I'm not looking for immediate number or next quarter number. In medium term, what do you think that sustainable margins and sustainable? Thank you and best of luck.
Okay, so thank you, ma'am. I think going from a 487 to whatever we are clocking is a 1 year scenario because of the COVID. But as I mentioned before in all my calls, minimum 15% to around 20% year-on-year growth is something which we feel we can sustain. As I mentioned, we might have plans for more, but some things work, some things don't work. It's not in our hand. Environmental factors start kicking in. But at least when we know that we are insulated for 15% plus year-on-year.
And margin, sir?
Margin, I think, Rumta sir, I don't want to say something which is positive. So, Rumta sir, can you elaborate on this, please?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. We are expecting the EBITDA margin will be around 20%. The PAT will be in the range of around 12 to 13%.
Thank you, sir. And sir, Avik sir, if you can reply to my mail. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll do that for sure.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashita from Ashika Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Hi. Thank you for the opportunity. I apologize if something has already been answered. So just quickly on Stanox, if you mentioned that it's been some months that Stanox has been on the market. So if you can tell me what the sales have looked like, and just to understand the IP arrangement with Prime Bio, does the IP rest with Gufic, and is there a royalty set up, or what does that look like, and what is our R&D spend just as a percentage of revenue?
So Ishika, thank you. So I'll first answer. Yes, it's a product which is developed in principle by the strain has come, and the main development part has done by Prime Bio. We have, I would say, partnered with them in terms of the formulation development and in terms of the entire regulatory process going forward. So we have a profit share where the net margins are divided between both the companies in a particular percentage. And that is quite a win-win model, and it's quite substantial for Prime Bio also going forward. Answering your first question, that is about Stanox. So Stanox was launched in Feb 2021, just before the second wave came in. So the actual launch has been still subdued, but we did it in around June and July, whatever we could, with the mobility which we had, which was still restricted. But for the first 6 months, we saw a doubling happening in terms of numbers. In the last 3 months, we have seen a 10% growth month. I mean, sometimes 15, but sometimes 10% growth month over month. I, at this point, would not like to disclose the numbers specifically about Stanox because there are other parameters associated with it. But of course, when the time is right, I'll be more than happy to share those numbers with you. But going forward, as I mentioned, it's going to be a pillar brand specifically. And if you have access to ORG IMS, you can just get an indication of what the numbers are, because there it's something which is public. So that is what we are. And I think what was your? Did I answer both the questions? Or was there the third question?
R&D spend. R&D spend.
Yeah. So R&D spend overall, apart from Stanox and the vaccines and everything, I think if I include all, I believe Rumta sir, you are better than me. So can you elaborate, or I should not make any wrong mention? Yeah, Rumta sir, are you there? Also, yeah, sir, sorry. Yeah. So the question is, sir, R&D spend is how much, sir?
R&D spend is depending upon year to year. This year we are expecting it will be in the range of around 8 to 10% because the top line will be around 775. So we will be spending around 50 to 60 crore rupees in this year in R&D. And next year also this plan will be around 50 to 60 crore we will going to spend in R&D.
And just to clarify, Rumta sir, this is without the, of course, the capital expenditure, and this is without the regulatory outflow, right?
Without the capital expenditure, this is a revenue expenditure which will going to charge us to PL.
Yeah, and of course, the clinical trial expenditure might be a little bit more than that, especially for certain candidates in the future. But yes, like Rumta sir rightly said, that clinical expenditure will be a little bit beyond that 60 crore, 70 crore mark in the next year.
Got it. Thank you. I have many more questions, but I don't think I have time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishika.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ankit from Bamboo Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity and congrats for a good set of numbers. So I wanted to understand, around 320 crore of sales in the domestic business. How much of it comes directly from selling to the hospitals?
So your question is related to hospitals, or you are mentioning specifically critical care?
No, specifically the domestic business. Yeah. I think it would have clocked somewhere around 310 crores of revenue for the 9 months. So out of this, 310 crores of revenue that we have clocked for the 9 months, how much of the sales is directly to hospitals?
Yeah. So do you also count nursing homes and I would say basic single centers also as a part of that, or you are talking about tertiary hospitals?
Yes.
Yeah. So so definitely. So when we talk about the critical care products, I think the entire sale of critical care is from hospitals, and that is primary, secondary, and tertiary nursing homes and critical care and single chamber, I would say, clinics. And IVF, the infertility also, the majority of IVF centers which may be part of a hospital or standalone, like you have Indira IVF and you have many others of that sort. And of course, when you see our Astrodome also, there are cosmetic clinics and which may be or may not be part of hospitals. Okay? But to give you one in a nutshell, it might be around, I don't know, maybe 60%, I guess, would be indirectly either single chamber centers or primary, secondary, tertiary setups. Okay? I would say that. So when you say about those normal physicians and standalone doctors who prescribe, would be around 35%. Those would be 35%, I think, 35%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to understand this from your perspective. This institutional sales would relatively come at very high discount compared to, let's say, prescription sales. So as a company, when we transition to diabetology and cardiology, I think in that case, in those segments, the prescription sales will be much higher compared to our existing sales. So when we transition to that company, how do you think we'll build a field force as well as try to build this portfolio? If you can elaborate on that, it would be great.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So, but as you know, the scalability of these divisions will be always much faster and much more accelerated. So let's say in terms of a PCPM, because you mentioned the field force. So, you have a PCPM where a critical care, normally is around 10 lakhs to 11 lakhs per month, a person is selling that, where you, of course, luckily being a manufacturer and being in those segments where we also do on a backward integration and we have that economic of scale. So we don't have that erosion, but yes, you're right. I think sometimes when there's a 70%, 80% gross margins in orals, you get only around 50% or, 45 to 50% gross margins. And that is where the PCPM and the new launches and the new drug delivery systems help us to manage that on a year-on-year basis, and that basket keeps on growing. But when I come to maybe a healthcare, we have a 1.5 to 2 lakh PCPM, and then we have Spark, which is 1 to 1.5, and with Stellar is where we have high margins, we have almost 1.5 to 2. So our focus and our thing, even when cardio diabetes coming in, where, big companies and I have a lot of respect for them. So when you come to 3 lakh to a 5 lakh PCPM on I would say, oral sort of a division or a multi-specialty division where you have a 70-80% GC, and in a critical and in IVF you have a 45-50% GC, but then you come with a PCPM of around 10 lakhs to 15 lakhs on an average. That is something, or maybe in critical care much more. IVF would be around 8 to 10 lakhs, yeah.
Sure. So on this front, it's
Ankit may be requested to please rejoin the queue.
This was just a follow-on with respect to the question I had asked. Yeah.
I think please go ahead, Ankit. No problem, I think.
Sure. So Pranav, how do you see these margins panning out for us once we scale up this, new businesses like diabetes and cardio? Because I think the margins will be higher. So when when both these divisions scale up, how do you see the margins of the company being impacted?
Again, Ankit, I think what I feel now, till we have that anchor launched in after 2-3 years now, I will never see the cardiac diabetes, evolve to that fast sort of a, I would say, number as how the critical care, IVF and my export and my CMO and other divisions will go up. You get my point? So even I'm sure in the next 2 to 3 years, cardiac diabetes will kick in, but their GC will not, and also when I launch a division anyway, apart from the RM, PM, as you say, the GC, there's a lot of other expenditure which goes through, in terms of developing your market, getting the relationship settled, getting those trials done and all that. So, of course, there'll be overall an improvement in margins because we have export coming in, economic of scale coming in, PCPM of people going up, backward integration going on, and that is what we commit and we continue to do so. But I would not say that a cardiac diabetic scale-up will be so fast that in the next 3 to 5 years you will see that playing a big role as compared to the other divisions, because the other divisions have their own roadmap, of growth, which will be maybe much more, and because they are our core competency. So till the anchor is not launched where I know that I have a good margin, I think the cardiac diabetic will play a role, but not so much as what we think in terms of the margins. My organic business will help in the margin much more.
Sure. Thank you so much and wish you all the best.
Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit Balkrishnan from iThought PMS. Please go ahead.
Hello. Hi. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible. Please go ahead.
Thank you for this opportunity. So I just a couple of questions. One was just a bookkeeping one. So one was if you could just share what was the export sales in the 9 months and the percentage growth in exports as compared to the last 9 months, 9 months FY21 versus over FY22. So that was one. And should I ask my second question also or?
Yes, of course. Please ask a second question also.
Pranav, just one question on this merger with Gufic Life, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I just wanted to understand it better. So, I think Gufic Life was valued at 140 crores, if my calculations are right. So, just to understand, I think they had a sales of about 45 crores, and this merger led to a valuation of about 30%. So, just wanted to understand what was the rationale, given that of this high valuation, given the sales were also in cases that we acquired, or just wanted to understand that in more detail.
So your question is that how is this 45 crore business, which was of Life, was valued at 140 crores? Is that the question? And why it was so highly valued?
Correct.
Okay. So of course, Runta sir will answer the valuation part, but I'll give you the answer in terms of the business sense. Okay. So maybe that'll throw some light over it. But before I answer the question, I'll go to your question number one. I think Avik, maybe you can help me out. I know that there is definitely an 80% growth over last year about exports, but how much percentage would that be? Export would be how much percentage of our revenue? Can you elaborate on that?
Exports was roughly 12% of our total revenue.
All right. So, sir, 12% of our revenue is exports, and you can just do the math with the 9-month data. And around 80% of what I believe was the growth, specifically, of course, because of geographies and because of the multi-products. So, I'll go to the next question now, which is, so when we say Gufic Life Sciences is valued not only on numbers, but also because of the geography access, what it would offer. Also because of the economic of scale in manufacturing, what it would offer. And also because of, the overall, there are certain product lines in terms of liposomal and in terms of PFS, which of course Bioscience did not have at that time, which it offered. So of course Bioscience had the R&D, but in order to scale up, you needed certain things which if I go and make at that time, the infrastructure itself would cost some X amount of money. When club that with 2 years of gestation or 3 years of gestation after that, after construction, you have to wait for 2 to 3 years in order to get the different regulatory approvals of regulated markets. That's another cost associated with it. And third thing is, you can just see the benefit last year when we had life sciences capacity to help us and we had an opportunity of dwelling into immunosine alphas and remdesivir and the black fungus. That was the capacity which, helped me reach those numbers in spite of my capacity of bioscience, which already helped me to take care of my organic business, my basic business, which was going through. Tomorrow also, why Indore then? Why Indore we are going for? Again, when you have a regulated, I would say, factory, and it's always cheaper sometimes in terms of the opportunity cost to get something ready rather than go and create and then wait for a long time. The very fact maybe Indore might be needed in 2024, maybe I'm saying, maybe. Right now what we foresee on a optimistic manner, we should be running out of capacity in March 2023. But with Indore coming in, not only the de-risk part of it there, because we already are almost going to be full capacity, but the new product lines which will offer in terms of, again, the ampules and the dual chamber bags and the dual chamber syringes, something which makes sense for us, and that's the call which we are taking right now. So for that. So again, I think the business sense in terms of that makes much more sense for us for us to go for that. But however, I think in terms of valuation, Roonghta sir, would you like to add something to this? Roonghta sir, are you there?
So I think this really helps. Pranav. Thank you.
All right. No problem.
The other question that I had is that, typically see that products tend to face competition after 4-5 years. So and then the margins tend to erode both in domestic and exports markets. More in exports, less in domestic, but in general there is a lot of competition that comes in after 4-5 years. So just wanted to understand in terms of our top 5 products, where are we in that life cycle and how do you see that panning out in the next 3, 4, 5 years? So just in terms of our top 5, 7 products, if you can just give some comments on that.
So the top 5 products continue to be in the mid or I would say in the middle segment only, because again, when we talk about these, it's all also about molecules, or it's all about when we get in that. So let me give you an example of vancomycin. When we entered the German market with vancomycin, I think we might be almost on the tail end of their product cycle, where we know that we are playing, we are competing with the worst pricing possible ever. But the advantage of the vancomycin is, once we get that entry through, then we follow it with the teicoplanin, where we are in the first window, where, teicoplanin is still a molecule which is still not gone through the same process. So again, it's not about the top 5 or the top 10, because, it's all geography-wise and it's all strategy-wise in terms of placement. But that's the ever-growing pipeline. At the same time, the backward integration helps us to take care of the erosion. But yes, there will still be erosion, there will still be things. But even when in the height and the peak of erosion, we should be having that economy of scales and that product market penetration, because still I'm looking at my numbers of maybe right now we have done 620 crores. If I extrapolate my representation on a global level where the reach is there, even with the pricing which I've never seen those margins which maybe a company might have seen earlier in a US or a Europe or XYZ. Even in India or be it beyond, I always entered the market with a sort of an aggressive or those tail end or maybe middle end margins also. So the new things and the new innovation which will come up with will always help us to always amp the game in terms of margins going forward. So, and that is where the ongoing pipeline is going to determine the way going forward. But still, like I say, and peak load of, I would say, the tail end of the product cycle also, we have enough to sustain us and ensure that those margins keep on coming in because of the economic scale and backward integration. Because the products are not going to be stopped using. They are going to be used I will not say word perpetually, but they will still be used for a long time. And that is where the Indian market combination with the international market helps us for the use to go ahead.
Right. Got it. And can I ask another question? I have one more question, if I'm allowed to.
I'm liberal before, but I don't know if, the coordinator will crucify me for that. So, coordinator, your call. What can you do?
So, you can continue.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, I just wanted to know about the global market, global demand for lyophilized products. So, I mean, if you can just talk a bit about what is the global market in terms of size, and which therapies and which products are used the most. And I mean, going forward, in terms of, I was just trying to understand, going forward, if there is going to be greater need for such products, and if you can just broadly give a sense, what rate is the market growing at? That's it.
Sir, this is the most amazing question which you can ask me, because I'm going to answer in a very short way. If I tell you why I'm getting into something and why I'm going to do something in my future because of X, Y, Z and Z reason, what would be the novelty inside, which is left behind with me? So the very fact we are very bullish upon it is because of some internal data and numbers which we have really worked very hard and accumulating and getting it such. And I would not like to give it when on a free scale to any competitor or anyone in the market. But yes, I can just assure you there are a lot of independent reports and published reports by AC Nielsen or even Thomson's or even for that matter IMS, which you can just go through and just take the example of the last 2 years where a lot of life-saving projects or products in different fields have come up with lyophilization. So how much percentage, how much all growth? I mean, we have a business plan. I'm sure if you become part of Gufic and you want to join us, we'll be more than happy to share as part of business development to you in the times to come. But right now, I feel this platform is not the right platform to share all those intricate details on this platform. I hope you understand. Please don't take it in any way other. It's just, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraint, this was the last question. I now hand the conference over to Amisha for closing comments. Over to you.
Thank you everyone for joining this call. I hope we have clarified all your queries, and in case there are any further queries that have remained unanswered today, you can reach out to us or to Mr. Devin Dhruva from SGA Investor Relation Partners. The contact details are provided on the last slide of the presentation uploaded on the website of the stock exchange and also on the website of the company. Thank you so much. Please stay safe and take care.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the management. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Gufic Biosciences Limited, that concludes this conference call. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect.